course, on the front row is Sheridan Murray, another newcomer. So the first race is a race, but the second will go in the record books as the Macau Grand Prix. 2 8-lappers determined on the result on over 2 legs. Used to be the format that I used to use. 18 is Lucas Mora on row 2. This is just warm-up though. This is any last-minute changes that they wish to make. Get a feel again. And some still say they're finding their way around the circuit despite having had a free practice session. Nadia Schutz says she's looking forward to getting some more track time. They had a free practice session plus 2 qualifiers. So bikes are out on track. It has just gone 7:30 in the morning in Macau. The locals are about to be given their early morning alarm call. So Julian Trummer, number 91, leading them away. He was telling me that he had massive wheel spin with the soft rear in qualifying 2, even though he did feel that he was riding better. He was also looking to improve on sector 3 as Costamo goes past him into Lisboa, followed by Mora. But back to Trummer, saying that they're trying something totally different in this warm-up and seeing whether they can get the softer tyre to work. And if they can't get it to work, then they'll go back to what they know from qualifying 1, and that means using the harder rear tyre and setting. It's all horses for courses, of course. Julian, his parents watching in Austria, is hoping that he should be going quicker in the race today. Gastinger and his company PEMA are looking after his suspension. And Julian's very thankful for the advice that he's given by Peter. So fingers crossed they can get that tyre working in the right direction and therefore having the correct tyre choice for the run. And of course, we're talking warm-up, it will be a lot warmer later on. It is quite warm already in Macau, but come the 2 races. First being in just under 3 hours' time. And then the second, the Macau Grand Prix itself, Motorcycle Grand Prix, will come later on in the day. So Julian taking a bit of a gamble, but he's hoping that he can improve. Starts at the front or the head of row 3. His best time 2:33. In fact, I think he was the only rider in Q2 not to improve on his Q1 time. Here's Paul Williams on the great deal of Paul so far this week. He is on row number 4. The filling between the Camille Holland and Joey Thompson sandwich. They'll be lining up in rows of 3. So they're putting in some 25s, but of course on their out laps. But times mean nothing, it is warm-up. That is what this is all about. Just getting readjusted, reacquainted with the bike again ahead of racing later on today. And just checking, everybody is out on track apart from Matt Stevenson. He did 3 laps in free. Unfortunately for the Welshman, his engine went pop. And he's been unable to replace it, so he'll have to come back another time. Lucas Mora on the Kawasaki bike 18. So Lucas starts alongside Rob Hodson and Perez on row 2. And I was kind of built, I thought the fact that Rob Hodson and Erno Costamo had both been here before, that it could well be a duel between those two. Rob Hodson starts on row 2. However, correct me if I am wrong, but I'm certain someone, maybe Ian Hutchinson, won 1 year from row 3. As long as you get a good start at Macau on a bike, you have a very good chance of winning. I think on the car situation, you have to be really one of the two front positions if you're going to stand a chance of victory, or hope that someone else has a misfortune and doesn't make it to the end, however. So even though Rob Hodgson is on row 2, he'll be hoping that he can find that extra couple of seconds or so that he needs. It's actually 3.5 seconds slower than Costamo. I had him this morning. He was saying that, I put it to him, that can he find those extra seconds to match Costamo, and he's admitted that too far, but they're putting a new fuel map in on the bike overnight, so that may help bridge that. I think we're all expecting Rob Hodgson to be on the, but there's no prizes for qualifying. In fact, with anything, you want to get a setup, and that's what this guy has been doing. Costamo really happy, really relaxed. They've got a pretty good setup. Fast from the word go. He's got I understand, a hard compound on the front, and he's running Pirellis. Most of the riders running Pirelli or Metzler. I was mentioning earlier about how when it used to be a two-legged affair, the Macau Grand Prix for motorcycles, it used to be determined over 2 legs. Back in the 90s, none other than Jeremy McWilliams won the opening race on the YZR 500, but he failed to come out for the second race. So even though he won a race at Macau, you will struggle to find his name in the record books. Will we see this man's name in the record books this year? Fastest in free practice, fastest in both qualifying sessions, the only rider to go inside 2.5 minutes. He's already up to 2:32 in this warm-up session, but as Danny Horn was saying, there's no extra cash or prizes or trophies for going fast in qualifying. It's all about getting the setup, and that is David Datzer, who yesterday at the end of qualifying 2, just looking for a breaking point into Lisboa, the only part of the circuit with runoff. There is Julian Trummer that I was mentioning earlier, number 91. Rob Hodgson was telling me it takes about half a lap for the shine to come off. A little bit of movement. You have to be so fast on the exit of Melco for the run down to the front. A little bit of morning sun in the eyes as well. Although the sun is rising quite high at this time of the day now. Julian Trummer really enjoying his time so far. So what about some of the other riders then that we're not seeing on at the moment? I mentioned for Camille Holland, who's had his issues through free practice in the first qualifying, battery more than anything. He's on row 4, 2:36.4. Sponsor is Blue Garage. Pavel Savichka is the owner of that company. Big fans of motorcycle sport. Camille is quite satisfied with qualifying, and like many of them, feels it could be better. Had he not missed most of free practice. Happy with his bike, happy with his tyres, just needs more time on the track. And you can see the 5th quickest bike 4.74 in this session so far. Another rider we've not seen a great deal of is Timothée Monot. He is right at the back of the field, the Frenchman. He's not had a great deal of track time either. 2:43.2 is his best time. He's running Pirelli slicks on his machine. He's got an SC1 front and an SC2 on the rear. Olin suspension. The RI helmet and the skeleton leathers. Also been racing at the Isle of Man TT. I mentioned Sheridan Murray as well. Really going well. Really raced this type of track. He is more of a short circuit rider, the Portuguese rider. Hails originally from South Africa. He's on the front row, 231.7 on his debut at Macau. Ahead of Rob Hodson. The other rider who is a regular to Macau, Andre Pires, starting on row number 2, riding for the Optimark Racing team, riding the Honda, and one of the 4 riders on Dunlops. And he's backed by Optimark and Via Huca de Aguirre and Origin Macau. This is a sight that Julian Trummer's parents back home in Austria will be happy to see. Their boy getting plenty of screen time at the moment, just ahead of Luca Mora. Joey Thompson still not quite finding the speeds that he would be hoping for in his first time here at Macau. Joey will be starting on row 4, just behind Paul Williams. He's got Lauren Hoffman just ahead of him on the grid. Bike 74. There is Sheridan Murray, 32. Keep an eye out for him. It won't be hard to spot starting from the front row. There's Camille Holland being chased by Timothée Monot as they all come into Lisboa. Raul Torres, as well as another rider we've not seen a great deal of on screen, starts on row 3. The Spaniard said he's quite happy with his bike. Took a bit of a leap forward between free practice and qualifying, changing the balance and the bike suspension. So he was telling me that when the track is quite cold, the tyres are okay, but when some heat goes into the surface, then he seems to be struggling a little bit with grip and consumption. So another setup with the tyre compound. But again, sensible attitude from Raul. They're all saying the right things, avoid mistakes, take it easy. It can be a lot different, of course, once the visor goes down and the lights go out and you're racing and you can get into and sometimes forget that there is a wall on the left and a wall on the right as you become embroiled with your fellow competitors. However, so good. We've only seen a couple of little close calls. We saw Nadia Schutz on her very first lap just kissing the exit of Macau, and we also saw Lucas Mora doing the same just on the. This is where Monot and Murray are coming to now, just here. Just saw Mora just a little bit too close to the wall for comfort. They'll have a couple of hours in which to take care of their machines, make any more adjustments should they need to. But I think they'll all be grateful for having this extra 20-minute track time. They're all saying as well that as soon as it's not too bad once you're moving around the Macau circuit, the air is cooling you down, but once you hit pit lane, that's when you feel the heat. And it will be a lot hotter as the day goes on. Can anybody beat this man? Erno Costamo. We've never had a Finnish winner of the Macau Motorcycle Grand Prix. It's been Brits all the way since 1998. Andy Hoffman the last in 1997. Others, I remember Andy de Rodrigues, Portuguese rider, winning it back in the early 90s, I think 93. Kevin Schwantz, of course, who could forget Kevin Schwantz on the Pepsi Suzuki in 1988. Coming out of here, San Francisco on the back wheel, pulling wheelies. He was that far ahead of Peter Robato and Robert Dunlop. So Laurent Hoffman, who is very happy with the way things have gone so far. And the man behind him, David Static, he's just letting him go through. Knows he's there. So as I was saying, Erno Costamo does start as the favourite. Nice and relaxed. And even though with a nice couple of seconds cushion on everybody else during qualifying, he won't be too... Well, he won't be putting himself in. And there's Costamo again, just trying to find the right braking point. Get the right settings on the engine for braking into Lisboa. So that won't have been, that's exploration. What we will have, definitely, whether it could be this man, David, that's it, we will have a new name on the Macau Motorcycle Grand Prix trophy. Michael Rutter is still the most successful, of course, 9 times a winner. Ron Hasden with 6, Stuart Easton with 4. The likes of Steve Hislop with 3 wins at Macau. That's enough for him. We will have plenty of car racing coming up as well before the first race, which is scheduled for 2:35 in the UK and 3:35 across the rest of Europe. So Rico Penskoffer's bikes on the front row, Sheridan Murray on row number 1. A bit of a surprise perhaps, David Datzer on row 1 as well. But Erno Costamo flying the flag for Matronaio and Finland into Melko. And unlike the cars, bikes can overtake, and we have seen some overtaking here in the past, but it's more Melko's more about, you can see there, just on the exit, it's about getting the exit of Melko right. So you can get the speed into Fisherman's and then along the straight to Arbend and over the line. So Lucas Mora looking to see what's going on with the times. So Costamo perhaps again is going to test that BMW on the approach into Lisboa. We've got just over 2 minutes left of warm-up to complete. Goes round this first turn, 140 miles an hour, flicking up 4th, 5th gear. Here's David Datzer, the German. So he's had enough. He'll go and have some breakfast following this. But here is Costamo down into Lisboa. Let's watch him. Got that sussed because he's already hit the anchors. So again, just looking to get a nice flowing lap in the bag before the main business of race 1 in just under 3 hours' time. I mean, Erno Costamo really visibly has looked quicker than everybody else around here. It's his 3rd visit to Macau. First one, of course, well, didn't really go to plan. He came down just coming into police. He crashed and another 5 riders followed suit. Just couldn't avoid him. Everybody was reasonably okay. I can't remember if, I think it may have been one of the Irish riders may have suffered a broken leg. I'm just going from memory on this, but everyone was generally okay. But Costamo He's just coming up through around this section. Brings it around nice and neat. So Erno Costamo, a regular in the International Road Racing Championship. A double winner at his home races in March in July earlier this year. And you can see keeping it, really hugging it around Donna Maria. Maybe that's where he's gaining a little bit of time. A lot of the riders were a little bit suspect of going around that tight around Donna Maria, because as you can see from the car parking spaces, it doesn't tend to be used on the road very much. Julian Trummer happy with his lot. But a lot of the riders you'll see will not hook in as tight on the apex around Donna Maria, but certainly Costamo to hug the Armco as he goes around that left-hand bend. And with the cars having pretty much cleaned that part of the track and plenty more rubber going down now as well, none of it's been washed away. Rubber that gets laid down, the more like a racetrack it becomes. So there is Costamo over the line again, the only rider, even during warm-up, to go inside. Sheridan Murray, Datsa, Perez, Rob Hodson, Julian Trummer, all the usual suspects putting in the fastest times, even though they really aren't of too much relevance. But of course, at Macau, like at any racetrack, but even more so at Macau, a good start is vital. And if you can get a good start from row 3 and find yourself up there in first, second, third, then you have a very, very good chance of finding the top step of that podium. So everybody has managed to get out this morning. So the countdown is on then, folks. We're not too far away. Coming up to 2.5 hours away from the first Macau Motorcycle Grand Prix race. At this 69th meeting of this event, 54 years of motorcycle racing around the Gia circuit. Erno Costamo certainly once again topping the timesheets even during warm-up, and he looks like being the guy to beat. Another, even though it's a Honda, another of the teams that has Rico Penskopf, the former road racer, having his backing. So that's it from me, folks. I'll be back in about 2.5 hours. I will leave you with some images from this morning's warm-up. 8 laps race distance coming up, 2:35 local time. But coming up shortly, we'll be leaving you in the very capable hands of David Addison and Alan Hyde. Take care, and I'll speak to you later.